Her zaman Türkiye olarak
The first aim shouldn't be for us to host refugees, but the main solution is for them to continue their lives in their hometowns. We need to work towards safe zones and no-fly zones in this context. We are discussing this with our American friends. These safe zones should be places that keep them safe from terrorism. Concerning this issue, the UN's role is important.
Meanwhile, Guterres has praised Turkey for keeping its borders open during the biggest migration of people in modern history. He also called for more countries to follow Turkey's humanitarian lead.
I was United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. And during that period, Turkey became the largest refugee hosting country in the world. And I have witnessed the enormous generosity of the Turkish government and the Turkish people, opening their borders, their houses and their hearts to their sisters and brothers coming from Syria, but also from many other parts of the world. And this generosity should be matched. This is also the moment to launch an appeal when we see so many borders being closed and when we see so many escaping their responsibilities. This is a moment to appeal for effective burden sharing and to make sure that the integrity of the international refugee protection regime is maintained.
Ali Mustafa attended that meeting here in Istanbul.
Antonio Guterres' first visit as UN Secretary General to a foreign country takes place in Turkey, and the symbolism of this visit hasn't been lost on Secretary General Guterres. He mentioned that before he took up the position as UN Chief, he served for years as the head of the UN agency in charge of refugees. And during this time, according to Guterres, Turkey opened its borders to millions of refugees. Now, Turkey is host to 3 million refugees from Syria and in Iraq, and the UN chief said that at a time when countries around the world, in Europe especially, were closing their borders, Turkey had opened its borders. But the refugee crisis was just one of many issues that the Secretary General discussed with the Turkish Prime Minister Binali Yildirim. On the agenda was also the war in Syria, on how to end that, and they spoke about the talks in Astana. The UN chief praised Turkish efforts to use Astana as a benchmark and as a launch pad for efforts in Geneva, UN-led efforts in Geneva. Maintaining the ceasefire in Syria through the Astana talks was very important, according to both Yildirim and Guterres. On the agenda as well were talks in Cyprus, the Cyprus peace talks. The two-state solution in Israel-Palestine was also discussed. So was on efforts to counter terrorism inside Syria and Iraq. Now, the UN chief will be meeting the Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan on Saturday, we are being told, before he heads to the Middle East, to the GCC countries, including Saudi Arabia.